So here we are. I've glued, the glue is set on these rings, and I've also glued it in to this top ring there as well. Something to be mindful of if you're wanting to align these so that they're all in a row. Make sure you do that whenever you're gluing it up, and hold it until it is not, or the glue has gone off. I didn't, and I would have liked to have got at least one of these lined up. I was hoping to get one lined up with this particular row, but hey ho, it's not quite lined up. But what can you do? And as you can see, I've got a pigtail here of lots of wires. There's about 16 in there altogether. I haven't yet put in the links to the common red, green and blue, because they're common for all of these LEDs. That's what I'm going to do next, but just before I do that, I'm going to explain why. Let me just first turn this on and put it into the test mode. What I've done is I've marked this lead here to indicate which is the first of the LEDs in the test mode. And then as you keep on pressing the button, it goes round in this direction. What I'm wanting to do is wire these. There's a total of 16 connections to these LEDs. So there's 6, there's another 3 and 3, which is 12, another 3 here, which is 15, and then these 3 at the top are just common together, so it's as if that's one LED. So there's 16 in all of these, same as there's 16 all the way around here. So you probably get where I'm going. I want it to, these are going to get wired into this top ring. So whenever this particular LED is lit, for instance, I would have wanted to get one perfectly aligned with it, but it's not that way. But it'll be this one, perhaps, that will be lit up. So these two will be basically a mirror image of each other. Then we move on to the next row, and so whenever this one's lit up, then this one will be. This one, and this one, and so on all the way around, the 6 there, and then it'll jump up and go around the 3 here, and then as you continue advancing, it'll go up here, and then finally, whenever it gets round to the very last one, which is this one, number 16, we shall call it, these top 3 will illuminate. So therefore, this tip will reflect basically what's happening on this very top ring. So it will be in tune, not randomly doing its own thing as it was with the automatic RGB LEDs. These ones will follow basically whatever pattern is on the main tower, albeit slightly broken up, but it should hopefully match in nicely. We'll see what it's like whenever we get it done. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to run 3 wires, the common red, green and blue common anodes feeds from here, and it'll have to be soldered in very delicately onto the back of these LEDs to match. I've attached one wire here. That's the red. I'm just attaching the green. I'm attaching them at one end first, just so that I can get the wires cable tied into place. Then I can check with the meter just to make sure that I'm soldering the right one to the right place. But it's just a bit easier to do whenever you've got all, the 3 wires in the position that they're needing to be in. And then you can make them tidy and then solder the ends. So I apologise if this is not the best view, but it's about the best I can do under the circumstances. Tweezers are definitely a must-have tool for doing all of this work. Tweezers, or I don't know, an 8-year-old's fingers maybe, I don't know. So I'm just cinching this up. I'm not doing it tight just at the moment because it allows me to be able to dress the wires, but at least they're in the right place. And as you can see, I'm keeping them separate from this main bundle. That's just for my own sanity. Cleverer people than me would probably be able to do that and keep it in the bundle, but it's all a bit much for me, so I'm keeping things simple, or at least as simple as I can. So we now have a second cable tie. That's so that it'll keep these 3 wires nicely flushed up to the top. So that's that one. That is the red. Yep, the red. Sorry if that was a bit off camera. I'm trying to do this without getting too much in the road of filming it. I don't think I'm succeeding. That's the red. Now we shall try for the green. I did try and cut these 3 wires to different lengths, ever so slightly different lengths. So clip onto that, and I can probe onto the green, which is that one. I shouldn't need to check this one because the other 2 are alright, but for the sake of completeness. Yep. That's those 3. Now I can snug down this other cable tie. And reach in and clip off the excess. Now all that remains is to wire all of these, of course checking which one corresponds to which LEDs, and these get wired into these copper, bare copper tinned wires all the way around. So that's why we find out which of these is the number 1 LED that lights up in the circle, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that'll be those 6, and then 7, 8, 9 will be these 3, 10, 11, 12, would be these three, 13, 14, 15, these three, and 16 will connect for those. So let's move this round ever so slightly. On these, if you remember, I did put some markings to help differentiate which layer they were, and on some of them I tied a knot in them. So that's layer 3, that one's layer 4. So that makes things a little bit easier. Yeah, a little bit of a haystack maze, but an even easier way of finding out which is which. What I need to do first of all is just strip the ends of these. I can then attach one of my crocodile clips to it. And what I've done is I put my meter in the diode test mode, and so whenever I come on onto one of these you can see, you might be able to make it out just there. That's that one. And sure enough, I've got one stripe on that indicating level 1. I shall just put a closed peg around the rest of them, keep them together. And I'm free just to work on these ones. One here. I'll keep going until I find the one that I'm wanting to use as number 1. That might be close. I think that's close enough. We shall, and you can see, it's easier to see in the green. This one here is the actual number 1. That's as close as we're going to get, because it's basically halfway in between two of them. So it is what it is. I've thought about how I'm going to sort of hold all these wires in place once they're all round, and I think it's going to be my old friend the zip tie. I may actually put in some of these just but not tight, just sort of loose. In a few places around it. These will eventually have their tag inside, so it's not quite as noticeable. Basically start forming the loom for this. And I'm tinning it part way down because I don't really want to disturb the solder joint up at the top. So before we go any further, let's just test to see if this is working as hoped for. Plug some power in. Woohoo! There we go. Yes, it does work. Hooray! And then it's a case of just doing the same again and again and again. So here we go, I've managed to thread all of the wires through, get them all soldered up. And what we can do is just step through this using the test mode just to show you exactly how it is relating and how it's wired. So as I said, each one of these LEDs and then the set of 3 at the top are wired into these. So as you can see, this LED is wired directly into that position, and so you'll see it step round as each one goes. So what does it look like with some of the patterns? So I'll probably try and do a bit of a side-by-side video to show the difference between before and after. But as you can see, this is much more matching in with what the whole rest of the tower is doing, so that's much better. So all I've got left to do now is just to tidy these cables and cable ties up, and then that'll probably wrap this one up. So that about wraps it up for this final episode of this Build With Me series. We hope that this has given you some ideas. If you've built one of these, especially the one with the PCB LED rings, please let me know, perhaps down in the comments, how you found the kit and whether or not you wanted to do some form of controlled tip to the tower the way that I've done it, or if you found it an even better way or a different way of doing things. Please let me know. I'd be interested to know. Well, thank you so much for following along and watching with this. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one.